Don, who said that?
Andrew.
Welcome this morning. This is the final breakfast of this particular programming year. It's been a great year. I'd like to call out and thank very much our program committee chairs, Andrew Connor, and where's the other guy? And Rob Felder, who's right there, same table. They did a great job. If there is anybody you know who you'd like to hear at one of these breakfasts, please contact Rob or Andrew or myself, or better yet, contact us about joining the program committee. We'd love to have you join us and help plan all these things. Very pleased to announce our next event. It's one of our favorite events of the year.
I'm sorry.
Hidden Gems. It's May 14th, and this year it's at a really amazing company called Team Wendy. Brendan Breen is the person who introduced us. Thank you, Brendan. Team Wendy's slogan is that Team Wendy, we innovate to protect, and they design and manufacture protective headgear for military, law enforcement, and adventure seekers. We got to take a tour of the plant. The CEO actually gave us a personal tour. Truly amazing. I'm not that easily impressed, and I walked away saying, holy cow, this is amazing. I really hope you all can join us, because Dan Moore, who owns the company, has promised to be there along with the CEO and the rest of the staff, and they're going to personally give us tours of their plant and tell us how it came about. It's got a great story, and I won't go any farther. We'll be announcing shortly the summer social date and location. As soon as we just about have it confirmed. Couple other quick updates, if you'll give me a second. Our entrepreneurship program here at John Carroll, we're very proud of. You all are a big part of it. You serve as mentors, advisors. This year, the Idea Lab competition, that some of you were judges for the local, we had 2 teams make the regional finals, the 10-team regional finals. One of our teams won it this year. I was told by a judge they weren't going away. And another team won the People's Choice Award. If you ask Jackie Schmidt, myself, I think it was our better team, truthfully. Both teams have entered LaunchNet and are hoping to launch their companies. And in fact, one of the teams has already had a very strong interest from a early stage investor to get them started. So thank you very much for those who did that. And one last thing before I introduce Andrew. Our minor, led by Jackie Schmidt, is just finishing up a record year. We have over 76 students finishing the minor this year. That's by far the highest we have ever had. And in this school year, we've had over 700 students enrolled in one of the 37 classes that we offer. And once again, you all play a big part of that. Thank you very much. Part of your dues goes to help support that. So give yourself a lot of applause for helping us do a really great money. I'd like to introduce one of the co-chairs of the programming committee. What's your name? Andrew Connors.
I can sound like make an impression.
You do.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. I think everyone's in a maybe extra special good mood, because, and I know I am, because when I woke up and I looked out the window, I said, damn, the sun's out. Today's going to be a good day. And for me, that just kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day. Our program theme this year has been innovation, and last week we tackled it by, or last meeting, we tackled it by hearing about pizza, which is an interesting and unique way to think about innovation. Today, Don Greenberg is going to talk about innovation kind of from his perspective, and it is wide and varied. He has been involved with 7 different startups. He has consulted with Fortune 100 companies, startups, and everything in between. He is kind of, I'm not sure what's a good way to put it, but you've gotten your hands dirty and been successful and unsuccessful, and great lessons learned in a lot of different areas. He has great perspectives that he's going to share with us today around what's the difference between being an inventor and an innovator. and how everyone can be, in some aspect, taught to have an innovative mindset in how they approach their work. So without further ado, Don, come and
Thank you.
share your knowledge.
I want to meet that Don Greenberg guy. He sounds pretty amazing. First of all, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thank you for being here. I know it's early. I hope you've had your fill, or at least start the fill of coffee. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. We're going to hopefully share some ideas today that we can all walk away with and really use, not just for ourselves, but also for our businesses. First of all, by show of hands, everybody in the room, tell me if you own a business, raise your hand. Great. If you run a business but don't own it, raise your hand. Wow. Okay. If you've worked for somebody in your career that you thought was innovative, raise your hand. If you've worked for somebody in your career who you thought was an inventor, raise your hand. Fewer and fewer. If you think you're an inventor, raise your hand. I got one.
Who is that?
Two?
Oh, Brandon.
Brandon, what'd you invent?
Custom motorcycles.
My man. I'll tell you what the real amazing thing would be if you could talk my wife into letting me ride one. That would be just amazing.
I got away with women.
Send
her my way.
Okay. So, modern invention, modern innovation. Welcome to tomorrow. I think we're, there we go. Oh, there's only 75 slides in this presentation. Don't be concerned. Just kidding. There's not. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I'll give you a little bit of background on me, what I've done. My kids describe I can't keep a job. Invention, we're going to talk about invention versus innovation. We're going to talk about modern innovation, and what does that really mean? We're going to talk about the economics of innovation. I think that's one thing that often gets overlooked, the economics of innovation. We're going to have a little fun, and then we're going to talk about your organization and innovation. On the table, you're going to see cards, index cards. Would you take just a minute, and if you have pens, share them around. Write down your definition for me of innovation. Write down your definition of innovation.
Oh, yeah.
So whoever's in charge of that camera back there has to follow me around. Good luck with that.
That's what I just told her.
Good luck. My wife says I have the attention span of a gnat, which means I often move around very rapidly. Everybody got it? I need to write a novel. Oops. You guys, you jumped to the end. Can you help me? I don't know either. I gotta go with this. All right, who wants to share? Who wants to share? Go ahead.
Better, faster, easier, less expensive.
Better, faster, easier, less expensive. Okay, Jack?
Surprising the imagination of a market.
Surprising the imagination of a market. Thank you. Okay, cool. Who else? Rob?
Combining two or more existing ideas to create something new, often in an existing space.
Good. Anybody else? Come on. Somebody in the back table.
Identifying creative ways to utilize existing resources to solve problems.
Excellent. So Webster defines innovation as something new or a change made to an existing product, idea, or process. That's innovation. Anybody know Joe Dwyer? Joe Dwyer's a futurist, really a guy who sometimes I read the stuff he writes and I go, huh? But he does occasionally say something that even I can understand. And he says innovation is the process of creating value. We're all in businesses, right? We want to create value for our clients. and our shareholders, whether it's a public or private environment, by creating value by applying novel solutions to meaningful problems. If we innovate and nobody cares about it, if the tree falls in the woods and nobody's there, do we care? So my definition is a little bit different than most folks, I think, because I look at modern innovation as the opportunity to reimagine a product, a process, or an idea. To reimagine. Now you say, Don, reimagine? You came up with something. But did I really? When I innovate, do I really come up with something from point to zero? If that's the challenge, I would argue that I am not an innovator. Explain more. Let's talk about innovation versus invention. It may be a little hard for you to see in the back, but tell me, somebody raise their hand and tell me where the invention is here in this slide. Where's the invention in that slide?
Bottom right corner.
Bottom right corner, that's the invention.
Well, it's a successor to the original.
A successor to the invention, okay. Anybody else want to take a stab? Where's the invention? Go ahead.
The iPhone combined a computer, a phone, and a camera that had never existed before.
Okay. Anybody else?
I was going to say that.
The basic telephone. I'm old enough to remember that phone.
I'd go back to Morse code.
You would. That's the invention. That's the invention. That's the original phone. That's the invention. That was reimagined in lots of different ways. So when you reimagine, you are innovating. I would argue that the iPhone is an innovation. It's not an invention. I would argue that the push-button phone from my dial phone on my parents' wall that had the 82-foot cord that reached all the way around the house, that is an innovation from the original phone. So innovation versus invention. Don't get hung up as an entrepreneur on inventing when you talk about innovating. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I work with folks who are in early stage businesses, all the way, as Andrew said, through Fortune 100. And every size business I've come across has struggled with innovation because they need a process. They need an ability to identify what innovation really is within their business. I would argue that Netflix innovated a model that Blockbuster Video created. I would argue that the old days, you go to meet people at a bar. Today you go on Match.com. By the way, if my wife looks in my history on my computer as I'm looking for these images, it might be a problem. Somebody vouch for me? Who remembers the Brownie camera? The Brownie camera, the first personal camera that was invented. You're not even old enough, Andrew, to remember that. The first personal camera that was really invented for everyday use, invented by Kodak. Today it's on the back of our phones. Reimagine innovation. Reimagine invention. The guy at top is drinking milk directly from the cow. I prefer to drink below. Pasteurized milk. Again, innovation, invention. So that's how we're going to think about this. We're going to think about innovation as reimagining. Just for a few minutes. Okay? Any questions? And by the way, this is a conversation, not a lecture. So I really love questions. I have 2 daughters who question me about everything I've ever done in my life. For them, with them, about them. Anybody? Okay. Innovation economics. What's innovation economics? Anybody want to take a stab? Anybody? Andrew, innovation economics.
Try to sound smart here.
Why would you start now?
I don't know. Tough crowd.
Andrew's a good friend and a business colleague, so plus his firm keeps my money. Say it again?
You have to have the financing to bring an idea to market. It's
Okay.
a great idea. It's not great if you can't act.
Okay, good point. You have to have the resources to be able to do that. Anybody else? No? Brian?
The return on investment you receive as a result of investing in innovation.
Okay, great. Back table.
I was going to say, the value received for the effort to get there.
Do you all think that when you innovate in your businesses, that it's something you get a return on investment on? I see heads shaking up and down. I see some heads thinking. Yeah, we all hope so, don't we? The innovation is going to create value in our businesses. But you know the number one question that every board wants to talk about? Public, private, small, large. And I sit on a few boards, corporate boards. They all want to know, how do we become an innovative organization? That's the number one asked question in board meetings. How do we become an innovative organization? Because innovation will drive the economics of the business. Who in this room sells a product, a physical product versus a service? Raise your hand. Who sells a service? It's pretty equally split. Every product or service has a life cycle. Now, I spent many years in the home products business, in the lighting business specifically. All those little decorative, pretty lights you see. In that business, we were and tried to be consistent innovators. That doesn't mean making something that was black, white. It doesn't mean making something that was brown, chrome. What it means is finding new markets, finding new opportunities within our current and potential channels of business. One of the consistent things we found, and this is where the economics of innovation comes in, is when we created new products that were innovative, new product lines that were innovative, there was a life cycle to it. But there's also a skewed profitability life cycle. Who's bought a TV in the last year? Last 2 years? I bet you those who raised their hand in the last year paid less for a better TV than the ones who did 2 years ago.
It's amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
Amazing.
I just bought a 65-inch screen TV that I couldn't, the box would have cost more not that long ago. It's just amazing. I have a friend of mine who's the electronics buyer for Costco, and he said it's like buying commodities. He said, if I don't pull the trigger at the right minute, I will lose millions of dollars because I will have paid too much before the next wave of innovation. So there's a profitability component to every SKU. Over the years, SKUs that have a longer life cycle generally will become less profitable because competition will emerge to compete with those products or services. By creating new products that are innovative, creating new opportunities for sales and profitability, your overall margin will remain consistent or grow because the consumer today especially demands new products and they're willing to pay for it. That's why they keep coming up with new iPhones. So your profit mix will create profit margin maintenance. That's an important fact. God bless you. How do you feel? You all right? You're good, okay. That's an important fact. This is a fact. Your product mix, if you can adjust your product mix and mix in innovative products, you will continue to maintain or grow your overall margin. Whether you're selling a product or a service. Who's introduced a new product in the last 12 months? Show of hands. Anybody else? Who's introduced a new product in the last 24 months? You know who's driving innovation. Product mix, margin maintenance, innovation economics. There's this other thing called customer excitement. You want to be the market leader? You want to be the market leader? Yeah, everybody does. Do you think following is the way to do that? Probably not. Customer excitement is part of the economics of innovation. If you're innovating, if you're constantly the problem solver, if you're constantly the company or person that your customers, clients come to, you're now the authority, and they're willing to pay for it. So we don't have enough conversation about innovation economics and building that company reputation. Your innovation, your ability to innovate, will build your company's reputation. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. All right, I want to have a little fun. Anybody having fun yet? I am, at least. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, by the way. I want to have a little fun. We're going to do the marshmallow challenge. Now, I know it's really interesting. Nobody really looked in the back. Did you look in the back? Okay. You couldn't wait. Did you eat the marshmallow? No. Okay. So we're going to break up into teams of 4 or 5 people. And we're going to see if we can innovate together. In your bag, you'll find a 3-foot piece of string, 20 pieces of spaghetti, and 1 marshmallow if nobody's eaten it. If you need another marshmallow, let us know. On the corner of this room are 3-foot pieces of masking tape. Go get yourselves one. Here's the deal. You have 15 minutes. Somebody's chomping at the bit. You got 15 minutes. The winner is the team that the marshmallow will be measured from the top of the table to the highest point of the marshmallow. That's the winning team. Top of the table to the top of the marshmallow. Your objective is to build the tallest tower possible and get that marshmallow as high as you can. Anybody in? All right, let's go.
Yeah, they're perfect.
Your stuff's in the back.
No, I know, that's what.
Wine, we need wine.
I was thinking of
Something similar to that. And folding the tables.
The rules can.
Well, it's just tops of
You
table.
can use the spaghetti,
I'll bet you
the
nobody
tape,
does.
anything that's available. You don't have to use it all. You can use as much or as little as you want. Yes, the bag is available for you to use as well. It doesn't have to be a tower. I didn't say that, Jack.
It doesn't say we have to go.
You're a careful guy.
No, he's in.
You don't have to use the bag. You can use the bag. It's entirely your choice.
Deal with it.
No, you cannot suspend it. You cannot suspend it. No, you cannot suspend it. You cannot suspend it. What? Cannot suspend it. Well, I thought that was assumed. I didn't expect Brendan to be on the table, but fine. So we can no suspension. No. That's good though.
Right.
It's too dangerous generally in these environments.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's what's called the balance on top. So we build the new one. And it's just a single tape there to keep it from falling. Right?
Yes, Clarification, point of
These are what, 12 inches?
So how do you guys?
They're not 12, but they're 10 inches.
You have to be able to measure it.
So we can get you just
How do the guys on,
theoretically.
I've been watching those nature shows, big structures on.
Oh, yeah, when they're out there,
Yeah.
by themselves.
Yeah, right? Or those survival shows, dude, you're screwed.
No, that's awesome.
You gotta download that for the Discovery Channel. They made like 8 shows in that, and then they canceled that.
I'm good. I can't find him. Oh, but he was.
Okay.
Oh no, no! I was like just like him talking like this, but I hope this is like a. Well, then I'm gonna go get coffee and.
Well, if you put spaghetti cross corners, right?
Yeah.
Like in the back. No. Maybe you'd have to bend it.
As long as you keep this straight,
Yeah.
go fairly long.
You gotta break it at the exact. Oh yeah, there you go. Then it might ruin the tension.
Straight piece, and then you need a little triangles.
You could go either way, yeah.
Analysis factor out.
Yes, if you did that, then you could turn the bag upside down.
There could be one shorter piece here.
No, I think that's it.
What the hell are you doing?
Program it, Frank.
I want to know.
9 minutes left. 9 minutes left.
Another one?
We can trade that. There's a name for that. It's commercial money from a piece of affiliate to buy.
And again,
The 20 pieces you can get past the
Yes, I think that's part of what's the
Just put it to the end of the bag.
Remember, it's the highest point of a marshmallow.
Well, I'm tabletop is the highest point of the marshmallow. 4 together at the bottom, and 3 together, and 2 and 1. And then maybe this will stop it from tipping over. Or you have to stabilize this. I'm trying to figure it out. Could take the bag.
So you have no marshmallow left.
Hey, what do you think, guys?
That's the best idea so far.
Oh, no.
This is your best.
Yeah, right.
No, I don't know. We got enough to lose. I only bet $50 on it.
Yeah, right.
I'm good.
Oh yeah, spaghetti is fragile.
I like it. Let's do it.
Hard part, I think, is to try.
Regular light?
This is the backup plan. If mine ever works, we're going to get 3 high.
You've got 6 minutes left.
No, we have not finished. We've had 2 failures. But it doesn't take away determination.
Right.
Should be able to. Well, that's not a good idea. Because then what part of it?
You can poke it. Yeah. That would be pretty. There's a lot of stability.
If I can get 3 fields, we're done.
Because this would be too heavy.
We could take them.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so if we do two together. So when you get it together. You're gonna lose some height.
Should I go get hot water? Good idea. Boiling water.
One for each corner.
Is that cheating? At the very least, we have the carbs, you know, is that cheating to go get hot water from the thing?
So the cross, small holes. So they kind of sit. They kind of sit there. So now, like,
We're gonna have to use more down low.
It's like now when they all come together.
This is actually
each leg pretty stable.
Yeah, but then get higher. Like 2 or 3. I think you can pull all 4 corners and then take 2 or 3 on top of that. If you have to one on top and another one on top. Easily. Right. They wouldn't do anything.
One stabilizes bag.
I don't want to put pressure on you, but we're down to about 4 minutes. Don't be discouraged.
We're using
Andrew's an investor. I thought I was coming here to network. Rob's mad. He thought he was coming to network.
We need to know this idea with ourselves, so we're not really working. So I think we might need to take.
Hey, Jack, can I get cable on that?
Let's do some, you know, yeah, but they're not holding up a marshmallow yet.
We need one. No, wait, we need more.
How's the boiling fusion doing?
Tape over here.
Where did you get the commercial?
You're going to do that on the front page, but it did fuse. So we can always break it off when it starts. We can tape it to the top. One to put in. Okay, yeah, fuse more. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work out.
Well, that's gonna fall out the backside over there. There you go. There you go.
Tape right there.
How about that?
That's actually.
I think the string is, and really, the string is out. Now, how are you gonna get it?
Unless you're able to tie things up.
Right. Okay, so let's take this to the side.
They're sticking in there. You got some more that go alongside it.
They're using the marshmallow to hold stuff together.
Well, let's keep going. So the base is stable. We need to widen it.
All right, guys, we're down to the last minute.
When it's starting to get heavy, reinforce it down like this. Very small piece.
We have a cooking marshmallow here.
45 seconds.
Oh, no. Still hold on marshmallow.
Back from the approach.
Oh, and we're done. No.
30 seconds.
Maybe if we take it off. It's gonna be the highest point right here.
30 seconds. We're at 15 seconds.
Marshmallow, it doesn't have to be the whole one. So if it can't hold the thing.
10 seconds.
Prove that it was up.
Down here, here's at the base.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands off. Hands off. Hands off. Everybody sit down. Everybody sit down.
Those are four. George, there's just a little limp over there.
Everybody sit down. All right. Wow. Look at these. Or not. First of all, was that fun to do?
Yeah.
I've done this, I can't tell you how many times. I was an owner of an investor in an innovation group who did work for folks like Nestle and General Motors and all kinds of companies, and including a couple that we own today, which is a non-dairy cheese business and a chocolate company. So I've done this with a lot of different groups all over the world. We've done it in Korea with a group from Baskin-Robbins, Korea, who did it totally different. We've done it in California with the folks at Apple, totally different than the way you all did it.
So how do they do it?
I'm going to show you in just a minute. Who is an engineer in this group? Who's an architect in this group? Oh, that sucks. That really does. Because the objective is, remember, from the table, no, Jack, hands off, Jack. From the table to the top of the marshmallow. Now this is one of the most innovative designs I've ever seen. I never said you couldn't take and break the marshmallow apart. I also never said you could go scarf more marshmallows out of the
You
bag
did. You said we had more marshmallows if you
if you want to eat them. Oh. See, as most entrepreneurs go, they hear what they need to hear to be successful. So there you go. I guess we're going to have to really, I thought we were going to have to measure, but I don't think we're really going to have to measure. I would say that if, what do you guys think? These are the two that are still standing. What do you think? What do you think?
Further one.
It's a leaning tie. Yeah, let's get a string. Can I have a piece of string, please? We're actually gonna. I'm always curious because in a group of entrepreneurs, somebody wants to be a winner. Somebody always wants to be a winner. There we go. Perfect. Somebody wants to be a winner. You got it? All right.
Yeah, I just got a bribe over there. Any offers here?
It's a tie.
All right, give yourselves a hand because that's your prize.
He is an architect.
Now, why do we do this? We do this because it's about innovation, right? It's finding innovative ways to solve problems and add value. Every team here did it a different way. Now, you're probably asking yourself, who's the worst at doing these kinds of projects? Who's the worst? Anybody want to guess who the worst?
Type A.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to find out in a minute who's the worst. But I want you to think about that question as we go through these questions, okay? Did you come up with a plan, or did you just wing it?
We came up with a plan.
So you took time to plan. Tell me a little bit about that.
We decided that you could use the bag, so that was,
Okay.
we looked for creative ways to use it as a platform. We realized we needed some sort of triangulation to support the vertical piece of spaghetti, because this was a limp thing. And we decided to use a small piece of marshmallow rather than a big piece, because it had less mass and weight and wouldn't take as much to hold it up. So that was the plan.
That was the plan. Okay, good. Anybody else have a plan you want to share? Most people start off with a plan. It's detailed. I saw this table laying it out. I saw other tables where they lined up all the spaghetti. I saw tables where they were trying to figure out if I take the spaghetti and I bind it together, can I make it stronger, more durable? Everybody had a plan. Very few people just wing it at our age. Ideas. Did you have one, or did you have many ideas on how you wanted to do this? Many?
At least 3 or 4.
So you had to consolidate quickly. So, but did you vet ideas? Could we say that? You vetted ideas out? You shared ideas as a team around innovation.
No name calling.
No name calling, no swearing. That's really great. I haven't said one swear word. How did you decide which design you wanted to go with?
Dominant personality.
Dominant personality. So a leader emerged. The leader emerged who took control and ultimately led the discussion and made that consolidated decision around consensus of how you're going to move forward. That's innovation. And the last question here is, how did innovation play a role? Did you try to do something different than you first thought of when you heard you're going to have spaghetti and a piece of string and a piece of masking tape?
Yeah, because you wouldn't let us tape the marshmallow to the ceiling. So
I've seen that a lot. That's dangerous. We do this sometimes after 6 o'clock at night, which means there's alcoholic beverages involved. So standing on the tables generally is a byproduct of that. So innovation around consensus, around planning, around idea vetting. That's where a lot of innovation organizations come. So the question is, who performs poorly? It's business school graduates. Most recent business school graduates. First of all, they cheat. No offense. Anybody a graduate in that table back there with the multiple marshmallows? They cheat, and they get distracted very easy. That 15 minutes goes like that because they're distracted. They think they've got to find the single most correct answer, that there's only one answer. There's not. They need to attempt to execute, and they fail. And eventually, they come up with a plan that looks like Jack's. Sorry, Jack. It was a good try.
The marshmallow's not below the table.
That's a negative score.
That's something.
So who performs poorly? Business school graduates. You know who performs best? Kindergartners. Kindergarten kids. They perform the best. Why? They don't spend their time trying to figure out who's going to be CEO of Spaghetti Inc. That's not what they do. They jump in. They have kind of a plan, but not really. They, more importantly, start with the marshmallow, and then they build prototypes. They don't call it prototyping, but they start with the idea of what they want to get to. And they start with that marshmallow, and they start to grow. And it fails, and they do it again. They do it a different way. They do it quickly, though. They iterate, they fail fast, they iterate, they fail fast, until they get to a model that works. That's innovation. Kindergartners can teach us an awful lot. I have a 7-month-old granddaughter, who's cute. Not that I'm biased or partial, but she's cute. I watch her do things with little stackable cups, and I think that kid's going to be an innovator. She finds new ways to drive her mother crazy at such a young age. So who performs well? Kindergartners. Again, they prototype, they refine, they adapt to an iterative, collaborative process, and they get feedback. They work together to get feedback on what works and what doesn't work.
Don, does there have to be a rule with a destination? Meaning, the mile had to be, what if there was no finish line or defined finish line? Because oftentimes when you're innovating, you don't know, you know.
Well, if you're innovating without a purpose, without trying to solve a problem, you're innovating and wasting your time, energy, and money. You should be innovating towards a solution to something that exists in the marketplace. Because the odds of falling into quicksand in downtown Cleveland are really, really slim. And that's really what you're talking about. Other questions, comments?
So what I've reflected on, is this innovation or was it inventing? Because there was no product created before we had to innovate upon. We were inventing something new. Was that a trick that you played on us?
It is a little bit. Because what you're doing, and you kind of pulled the next slide. So good for you.
It's okay.
No, I like it. I love it. I love that you're thinking about it. What you did is you invented using innovation. Innovation is the driver, though. Innovation is always the driver towards invention. I've never met an inventor who starts out to say, I'm going to create X. I find people, we work with people who innovate, and invention falls out. That's what happened here.
Because I think what you've explained too is our society, culturally, educationally, limits people. As children get older, they're put more and more confined as what to do. That's why kindergartens do so well. There's virtually no limitation for what they can invent.
They haven't been cursed by the burden of knowledge, okay? I did not go to college. We were talking about this earlier. I went to work at 17 years old, went to work for a lighting company, and at 19 I was living on the West Coast, starting the West Coast operations of a company we took public 4 years later. I had the opportunity to sit next to two guys who were just brilliant, had done it before, and they were kind enough to take this little dumb guy along with them on the ride. And I learned an awful lot. But the idea around not knowing, not being cursed by the burden of knowledge, I didn't know we couldn't do things. So we went out and did them. In the world and the culture that you're building or you are supporting or you are influencing within your organizations, I would challenge you all to do the same thing. Don't get caught up in what you know. Think about where you want to be and creative and innovative ways to get there. So unlock innovation within your organization. You nailed it on the head. Innovation versus invention. But you shouldn't permit innovation within your organizations. You should expect it. In fact, you should demand it. It's your job as leaders of your organizations to demand innovation and to demonstrate innovation within those organizations. Experiment, but don't overburden. Everybody gets panicked when it's 15 minutes and I've got 3 minutes left. Then you start to panic. You get overburdened, overwhelmed. I would present the opportunity or the idea that there should be designated folks within your organization who lead innovation. And that should rotate within your organization. Because what do we want to do? We don't want to get burdened down by that expectation, that confined box. We want to take it out and give lots of people lots of opportunity to have their influence into what that looks like. And if we do that as a group, collaboratively, we'll get more innovative opportunities. I'm with you right there. Whoops, sorry. Celebrate creativity. Celebrate it. How many organizations have you worked for or been involved with where somebody comes up with a great innovation or great idea, a lot of creativity, and they're told that's not the way we do things here? Celebrate it. It takes a culture of celebration to drive and really sustain innovation. Campaign for innovation. Now, what do I mean by that? If you have a board of directors if you have a board of advisors, whatever it is, make sure you campaign with the top levels so that everyone within the organization is on the same page. A lot of times, CEOs are really challenged by those that they report to or those that they have above them, and they're challenged around the idea that innovation doesn't always pan out. You talked about economics.
Is Deming's concept of constant improvement really just another way of saying innovation?
That's certainly an argument, absolutely. Yep. Innovation over the years has become a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's really a process. It's really a process. Commit and continue. And this means not just time, not just energy, but also resources, money. It takes money to innovate. It takes money to pull products out of the innovation life cycle, out of the innovation process, and put them into play. But as we said earlier, fail fast. Fail fast. Don't spend a lot of money on things that aren't working. Fail fast. If you have a pipeline of innovation, you can do that. And last but not least, innovation is not an action, it's a lifestyle. You live that every single day. It's part of who you are. It's the first thing you think about in the morning about your business. It's the last thing at night. It will drive the future of your business. That's all I have. Thank you. I think we have questions.
Don, thank you. Question for you about the exercise that we did. Any visuals or explanations of teams that have succeeded well beyond what we did today?
Yeah, there's a million images online. I can tell you though that generally the way it starts is the spaghetti gets banded together for rigidity, and then it gets taped to the table.
Okay. So the bag's not even used?
Bag's not even used. Today was one of the few times I've ever seen the bag used. Other questions? Oh, sorry.
I'm not had to address protecting intellectual property. Inventions obviously typically get patented. If you've got something that's truly innovative, how do you decide whether or not it's something that you need to protect intellectually, your trademark, patent, copyright, or whatever?
Well, you're talking about, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to put that on the table. So the advice you're going to get is based, it's worth what you paid for it. So, so I'm not a lawyer. First of all, patent versus trademark versus copyright. I would definitely copyright my idea. If it's a process, I would get a process patent, and it's easy to do yourself. I would get in line, at the very least, before you spend a lot of money with attorneys, sorry if you're an attorney in IP, I would get in line at the USPTO and make sure you've got at least something filed talking through what your innovation or invention is. And then from there, as you do more research and as you get more traction around it, then I would go invest money, if it's appropriate, to protect it. But somebody who is really, really, really smart, in Chicago, it's called the Doblin Group. International company, and Jack, you might know the Doblin Group up there. The guy who runs the Doblin Group, I was fortunate enough to meet at a conference one time. And I told him what we were doing in education software. And he invited us in to come and meet his team and talk through the idea. And we thought we were building the next formula for Coca-Cola. And I remember walking into a room that's about half the size of this. It's all glass walls. It's got this smoke button where he pushes the button and the walls go from clear to smoke so we can write all over them. And it's very cool. Right on the river on Wacker Drive in Chicago. I could not have afforded this meeting if I had to pay for it. He was kind enough to do it. And Jack looked at me and he said, Don, you think you have something unique. There are 3,000 people in the world right now trying to do the exact same thing you are doing. The question is, who's going to get there first? That's the question. Other questions?
So what are the challenges or roadblocks do you see of putting in an innovative culture into a company? What's your perspective on some of the things that you run into out there that will prevent changing the culture?
What kind of car do you drive?
Subaru.
140, 160 horsepower probably?
Yes.
Something like that? If I said to you, you've got to hit 0 to 100 in under 5 seconds, could you do that? No. So most organizations, that's what they try to do. They try to go from 0 to 100 in under 5 seconds without having adequate resources in place, adequate support in place. That's the biggest #1 roadblock. They just say we're going to do it, and they don't put anything around those words. That's the #1 roadblock. Past that, the other thing would be, how do you collect and disseminate that information? How do you find all of those gems and put them in a little blue bag, like you would diamonds? Shake it around, put them on the table and watch them shimmer. How do you do that? You have to have a capacity to do that as an organization. Those are the two things.
So a follow up on that question, once you get past that point, what would you say the building blocks, so to speak, of a successful, innovative company would be? So, obviously the Subaru is not going to get it done. What do you need to get it done? What are the foundation blocks that you think of?
I often, kind of the things that run true through all the businesses we're involved with today, one is we've created that culture. So you've got to get that culture, because if that culture's in place, that culture takes that opportunity and draws it through. You get somebody who is the champion of that idea, and they will draw it through the organization. Now, you've got to have a way to vet that out, and then you have to find a way to test it. If you don't have a way to test it, they just become a bunch of good ideas. You have to have a way to test it. Do I build a prototype and take it to my customers? Do I build an actual line of product? We do this in the chocolate business. We actually make literally 1,000 samples of flavor profiles, and we do healthy, better for you, what we call permissible indulgent dark chocolate. And we take that product and we test new flavor profiles. We make 1,000 of them, and we do actually go out and test them. So we have to figure out whether that innovative profile is the consumer will respond to it. So you have to do the same thing with the organization. Jack.
So General Magic created the first cell phone in the early 90s. They had to spin off from Apple to do it. 3M posted guys, right, Skunk Works, they had to be hidden in a closet while they transformed the company to that product. How important is it, do you think, that, what's your feeling on the view that innovation has to be done off campus, so to speak, from a company? It can't be it can't be managed and controlled as another function within the company.
Everybody hear the question? Does it have to go off campus, be separate? Jack, I have a hard time focusing on your question because slowly your project is wilting before my eyes.
How it's designed that way.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's innovation. It's innovation. Thank you. Nice, Jack. The answer is, and it's my opinion, so you're asking my opinion now, I'll certainly share it with you. My opinion is that a Skunk Works, as it's often referred to, is not a necessary requirement. I think it's a nice to have, provided you take the information out of that Skunk Works and you integrate it back into the organization and you put it through the process and the culture of innovation within the organization. If you just expect that little group to be able to execute, whether it's 5 people or it's 500 people, the chances of a long-term success, if you don't take it out of that little work and put it back within the stream of the company, the chances of success diminish greatly. So I'm not a big proponent, especially in the size companies I think most of us run today, of making it into a separate operation. Other questions? Well, I think we're right up on our time. Thank you to the organization, certainly to Andrew and Bob for inviting me to come, and thank you all for listening and being part of today.
Memento for remember us by.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, it's not marshmallows, it's spaghetti. As always, thank you to the team, Muldoon team, Team Dolt, Kat, Roz, our work studies, Kara, and Hadley in the back. And thank you all for coming. Please don't forget, these cards are up front if you want them. May 14th at Team Wendy, Hidden Gems. It's going to be, I think, as interesting as anything we've ever done. A great opportunity to bring guests who you would like to be members of this organization, and you'll be receiving lots of information about it. Thank you all.
feel free to stay around, have a little more to eat if you want, and we're done for now.